Hello everyone! It's been a little bit of a while since I have last made a video, as tends to be the case with my videos in the past. I always say I'm going to change my ways. I have not been successful in sticking to that word quite yet. I'm optimistic that it can still happen, but here we are. This is a step in the right direction. So the last time I spoke to you about this kind of topic, I had just finished my first year at GSA, Drama School for Musical Theatre, and I was going to be embarking on my second and final year of my MFA degree. And now I am coming to you as a graduate. Haven't had my graduation ceremony yet. Hopefully sometime soon, although I feel like it's going to be next year if it follows the same pattern as last year's cohort. Next year in April might be when I have to wait till, but I am a graduate. My course has finished, so I thought I would make a video about what I've been up to for the last year, what my course has entailed. If that's something that you're interested in, then keep on watching and I shall divulge all of my exploits. So, yes, as I said, I did the MFA, the Master of Fine Arts in Musical Theatre at the Guildford School of Acting. So that's the course that I will be talking about right now. Just to clarify, because there's so many courses, drama school courses, this, that and the other, just want to clarify in case anybody is not looking for that kind of thing. With this all being said, before I begin, I must note that this course, whilst I was in it, was being assessed, it was being critiqued, it was an ongoing development, like its final form has not yet been realised. I do believe that the year below me is now living the course in its true form, in its final form, I think, because they just implemented changes to it to that year after mine. So I think most of the stuff, like the content, will be the same, with maybe a few little additions and a few little deductions, but nothing massive to the actual core of the degree. I think the main aspects will remain the same, but there were just some little nitpicks, I think, that needed to be ironed out and sorted out and bettered, I think. So, yes, if you go and do the MFA at GSA now, you will likely not do it in its form that I have done it, just to let you know. But anyway, so the first section of first term, the main thing that we had going on was a module called Pedagogies, which is basically about teaching, because this MFA is a qualification that in certain countries you can actually go and be a teacher with this qualification. So some people undertake this degree because they want to go and teach musical theatre, acting, music, singing, blah blah blah. They want, it's a stepping stone to them being able to teach. So although that might not be expected of a musical theatre course, it is what is on this one. So yes, the first 2 weeks of that term, I think-ish, the first 2 weeks, we had seminars with the University of Surrey pedagogy / teaching lecturers. We're very lucky at Guildford School of Acting that we are actually attached to the University of Surrey, so a lot of our resources and things like that are kind of combined, or like we can go to the University of Surrey, like our library is the University of Surrey library. So we're lucky in that way that we've kind of got two unis in one. So obviously those lecturers from the Uni of Surrey actually teach degrees on teaching. So it was really helpful to receive some teaching from them, since we were doing a module on teaching. And although obviously our teachers at GSA are teachers and know a lot about teaching and pedagogy themselves, they don't teach teaching, I don't think. They don't teach a teaching pedagogy degree. Do you know what I mean? Like theirs is linked to music, singing, drama, acting, dance, all of that kind of stuff. So these were very, very, very specific lecturers in pedagogy and teaching as its own form. So obviously in 2 weeks, in a couple of seminars and workshops, you can't really learn a huge deal about teaching and pedagogy during this time. Bearing in mind, people do whole degrees that take years and years to complete on teaching. But it was definitely important for us and this module. It was a bit different looking at what they were used to teaching and what we would be teaching, considering their subjects were more like, they were looking at teaching in like school settings, like classroom settings, whereas our teaching would be much more practical and like studio based, or like in a singing room, you know, that type of thing. So we did have to kind of adapt what we were being taught from those people for our needs, but that's kind of, doing an MFA, you kind of have to, you know, think for yourself, not be spoon-fed it. So aside from those seminar workshops in the first 2 weeks, after that we were kind of left to our own devices to schedule our own observations of the teaching and the teachers at GSA. So we had access to all of the schedules and timetables, so that we could, if we liked a particular teacher's technique in teaching, then we could go and schedule ourselves to go and observe their class. And we were looking specifically at we were observing their pedagogy, the way that they taught, how they interacted with students, that type of thing. And that was to help us with our assessment for that module, which was, we had a little practical section of the assessment, which was a micro teaching session. So I believe it was 10 minutes of a micro teaching lesson related to something performance based, and we just taught that to the other members in the module type of thing. So it wasn't like exposed to any external students or anything, we just did it to each other, but obviously we were assessed on that micro teaching session, how we were as teachers, our lesson plan, what we'd organised, what we planned, what we thought out, how we were going to teach it, that type of thing. I believe I did my micro teaching session on acting through song. I think mine was acting through song, but I did like a music theory analysis and how you could use this to act through song. That's it in a little nutshell, and obviously 10 minutes isn't a lot to do. It goes really quick when you're trying to do a lesson, 10 minutes goes woo so fast, so it really has to be super concise. But yeah, I did that, and I did it on the Miller's Son from A Little Night Music. What a bop. So that little micro teaching session, I believe, was probably done before the October half term, I think. And then we had we had to choose 3 options from this list of 4 things that we could do for written submission. So it was, you could do a teaching philosophy, a lesson plan, a critical reflection on the micro teaching session that you did yourself, or a pedagogic case study on a practitioner, or a practice or approach of your choice. So you did 3 of those things. I did the teaching philosophy, the lesson plan, and the critical reflection. That's what I did, and that was due after Christmas. And I specifically remember like sitting on my couch, like the Christmas tree's there, the candles are lit, I'm in the Christmassy mood, and I'm just like, there's nothing worse than having something to submit over Christmas. There's nothing worse. But I got it done. I was like, I want to get it done before Christmas Day, and I did, and I had a jolly time. So also just to mention, whilst this was the main thing for the first half of first term, we still had our skills classes, which was dance, ballet, tap, jazz, singing lessons, individual singing lessons, and bi-weekly rep lessons. In this term we had no singular acting module, which is a little strange / concerning, but I think they have probably rectified this by now. So moving on to the second half of first term, we did, the main focus of this little part of the term was the public performance collaboration with the MFA actors. So this is where the second years of the MFA acting course join with us, and we do a public production together. And this tends to be working to both of the cohorts' strengths, and usually it's a play with music, and it's usually like family friendly, because it's done at the beginning of December. So I mean, ours wasn't a Christmas show or anything like that, but it's normally suitable for like younger ages as well. That being said, I think our show was potentially a little bit scary for children last year. So we were told that that was to be the case, but I'm not sure whether it actually ended up being the case. But yeah. So we did Beasts and Beauties, that old classic, which is basically like a collection of folk tales that had been rewritten into like a stage format. So it was like lots of different stories, and I think we chose maybe about 6 stories within this whole text to perform. And within some of those stories there was actual like lyrics written to songs. There was no music or like anything to go along with those lyrics, but it was like the bird sang this song, the bird started to sing, and then it was like na 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 na. I'm doing a tune there because I'm doing the tune that was written for us, but it was the words, like it was just given words. There was nothing, there was no scores or anything like that. So this was a very interesting production. We did have a composer compose the music for those lyrics to go along with those lyrics, which was very cool. And our director was just absolutely gorgeous, amazing, so creative, so brilliant. She worked so hard with us on this show. She was just, oh my goodness, one of the best people I've worked with at GSA for sure. And it was really nice to join with some different people, because obviously we'd had our MA, MFA cohort in the first year, which was about 20 of us, and then we went to about 8. So we'd lost a lot of people and we became like a very small cohort, and there was about the same, or there was a few more of the actors. So it was just nice to like mix with some new people who had like completely different, not completely different, but like just a different mindset and way of using their skill sets and this, that and the other. So it was really great to learn from each other. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And the casting, the way that it worked, we ended up, all of like the MT people, like if there was like 2 people or 3 people, it would be like MT and actor. It wouldn't be MT and MT. It didn't end up being that way. It was all a big mixture together, which was just really lovely, because then we ended up having lots more friends from that situation. And yeah, it was something different. I would say it strengthened our acting skills more than anything, which was really good, because in an MT course, I think maybe the acting side of things does tend to get left behind. And so maybe because this was so solid in acting and so acting heavy, maybe this is the reason why we didn't have an acting module in the first term. I don't know. But yeah, we definitely learnt things that were important, that are important, because, you know, who knows, we might not end up, some of us might not end up doing MT. We might do like straight hardcore plays, this, that and the other. But yeah, it was good. It wasn't MT, but it was good. And some extra little benefits to this term were that we got to audition for the GSA Singers, which is basically a group of second year GSA students who, there's normally about 20 of them, and they build a repertoire of performance numbers that external companies, private functions, people can hire them to perform at their events. And it is run by the wonderful Peter Roberts. He is like the heart of GSA. He's amazing and cheeky and hilarious, and I just if you meet Peter Roberts, you're just obsessed with him. Once he gets to know you and you get to know him, he's just a cheeky sod, really. So love you, Peter. So yeah, I auditioned for that, and I am now forever a part of the GSA Singers. I will always be known as a GSA singer, so pleased about that. It was a lot of fun, and it's just an extra thing to put on your spotlight, an extra thing to do with your week. We met up every week on a Tuesday for a couple of hours. Oftentimes it was more than just the Tuesday for a couple of hours for us to practice, because we were doing whole shows, like 40 minutes in the first act, a break, and then 40 minutes in the second act. Like, we had a lot to do. We had a lot to do. But it was fun. It was fun. I also got to do West End Does Christmas. West End Does is a company that is very strongly affiliated with GSA at this point, I would say. It's ran by Rob Houchen. I'm probably butchering that, but something of that variation. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And also Matt Lucas, I believe. And yeah, they do a lot of concerts at Cadogan Hall, and so I went and did West Enders Christmas with them, and it was so fun. Also, Peter Roberts tends to do the music for external concert things like this. So you spend time learning the material, and then when it comes to the show, you just go earlier on the day and then you run it with the orchestra and the musical director and things like that. So that was a lot of fun. Very, very Christmassy, festive, gets you in the mood. Would absolutely recommend doing things like that. And also those are official credits that can go on your spotlight. So absolutely, as I say, like, just say yes to things like this, to extra opportunities, because why not? It's fun and it goes on your CV and it's experience and it's exposure. What more could you want? Right, on to second term. So this is like the beginning of the new year. So our big thing for this term was the public production, which is written and inspired. It's written for and it's not, I don't want to say it's written for us, because I think our production anyway was already, its idea had already been conceived, it had already been thought about, it just hadn't developed to being written yet. But with this production and with Meeting Us and with its development being for us, it is then inspired by the cohort who's in it, the boy to girl to they them ratio. So ours ended up being Candidates by Gus Gowland, who is a lovely, fantastic writer. We did have a few workshops with him for this in our first term. So like the idea was already there, his thoughts were already there, but we got to work with him a little bit just to flesh out some things, the story, the characters, that type of thing. And then he went away and wrote that basically throughout. When we were doing Beast and Beauties, he went away and had that time and Christmas and had its final form, but it's not completely final form, but it's final form as of that time. It was ready for then. So that was crazy. I mean, we had a crazy time with that production. There was a lot of external, personal, crazy things going on with quite a few members of the cohort. Sorry, I'm just thinking about one specific one. And Mon, if you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about, as do the rest of my cohort, but hilarious. It wasn't hilarious at the time, was very traumatic at the time, but now is hilarious. We had an amazing success story in the industry for one of my bestest friends, Tom. I might elaborate on that a little bit later, but basically we had some things getting in the way of our rehearsals, and like right at the crux of like a week, 2 weeks before we were doing this show. And it was a very interesting experience because we didn't have the writer with us all the time, because Gus, I believe Gus lives in York, so he wasn't there the whole time. And so we had our director, Julian Wolford, cast us and direct us through this process. And it's just very, very interesting to like workshop something that is in its infancy, basically. And so a lot of things changed from that draft that came after Christmas. A lot of things changed along the way. Songs were written for it, some things were taken out, some melodies were changed, some harmonies were changed. Like, wow, it was a whole process. It was fun, it was crazy. We had such a fun time, we had a great time. Our run sold out. And yeah, it was a great time. It was crazy, but it was great. And yeah, that's my review of that experience. And obviously, like I said before, alongside this part of the term, our skills were continuing throughout the year, but we had a little extra dance module slipped into this term. Not this term, it was throughout the year actually, but my group came at this point in the year, and it was for partner dance. So it was like the final year MT students were like cut down into smaller groups and we're like staggered throughout the year for a couple of weeks to do partner dance, which is basically like learning lifts, learning to hold yourself, to help your partner lift you up. If you wanted to try lifting other people, you could. It was basically just learning to work with another person, but predominantly was lifts and things like that you would do in a professional show, whatever. In this term, we also had agent feedback forum, which is basically where GSA invites a bunch of professional agents from the industry to come to GSA. They all come, and it'll normally be in Ivy Dance because that's the biggest studio that we have, and they'll spend the whole day basically watching us perform. So we danced first in groups. We all learnt one dance, and in groups we went in and performed the dance. We did it twice, I think, or did we do it more than twice? We might have even done it more than twice. I think we might have done it 4 times. 2 when you're at the front, 2 at the back, or 1, 1, 1, 1. I can't remember, but I was absolutely knackered by the end of it. So we definitely did it a few times. And then after that, everybody goes in and sings one by one. So you choose 3 songs, everybody, and they all get given forms with your headshot on, your name, your 3 songs, and a box so that they can write comments. So you get the choice of 3 songs. One of them tends to be contemporary or contemporary legit. Another one tends to be legit, fully legit. And the third one tends to be pop rock or something of a different genre that suits you. And so we had a couple of sessions the term before to try out some songs, to get some feedback from the other people in your cohort of what they think about that song for you, whether that shows you as a person, whether it shows your personality, whether it shows your vocal strengths, your acting strengths, just your strengths, whether it suits you, this, that and the other. So you have a few sessions to figure those things out. And yeah, it's a very big and scary day, because for me anyway, that was the first time I'd been exposed to anybody in the industry at all. And there are like some huge names in there, or what feels like when you're at drama school, you're like, oh my god, this agent's here. Oh my god, they're coming, oh my god. Ah! It's a big thing. It's a big thing for you at the time. It was a big thing for me at the time. It's a big thing for everybody who was doing it at the time. It's still a big thing, but yeah, things just get bigger and bigger as you go along in this life. So yeah, so that's what Agent Feedback Forum is. And also, if agents are interested in you, then they might come and see you in a show after that, just to see you perform again, or they might schedule a meeting with you. Things can happen from Agent Feedback Forum, basically, which is why it's such a scary and important day. But you honestly get used to it. After that point, the more you do things like that, the more you get used to it. But at that point, that was the first exposure, so it was absolutely terrifying. We also had this term after Christmas, it gets crazy. Shit gets crazy with industry, just letting you know. So after that, we had Cameron Macintosh audition. So we had a member of the Cameron Macintosh casting team come into GSA and watch us sing. Basically, everybody had an appointment to go and sing for this casting director, and you had to take in 2 songs that you felt suited the style of the shows that CamMac currently cast for. So obviously the big ones for that are Phantom, Les Mis, Hamilton. And so if you've got something that you're aiming for within those shows, you could definitely adapt your song choices for that show. So like for me, I know I will never say never, it would be amazing, but I know I'm less likely to be in Hamilton than I am to be in Phantom or Les Mis. So I took in songs that would suit Les Mis and Phantom, basically. It's your opportunity to pick songs that play to your strengths and those shows. And that was really helpful and good, as it's audition experience for one. It's audition experience in somebody who could be very influential in terms of getting you into an audition room for those kinds of shows. So yeah, it was very exciting. We also had an audition day with Pearson Casting, and again we took in 2 songs that we felt suited some of the shows that they were currently casting, which included like 6, Operation Mincemeat, Starlight Express. We also had a meeting with Jill Green, who is also a casting director. This wasn't an audition, we didn't sing for her or her team. She basically just held a kind of like discussion panel talk type of thing, where she was sharing with us information about the ins and outs of casting, self-tape help and information and what's best and this, that and the other. Lots of things like that, which was really, really helpful. And it allowed us to ask any questions to her about the casting process, and if we had anything that we wanted to know that she hadn't divulged already. And in that meeting, it also gave us, she also at the time was doing a grad search for becoming Nancy. So that was an opportunity within an opportunity type of thing. And also we were able to audition for GSA's submissions for the Sondheim competition. So basically for the Sondheim competition, schools will pick a certain number of their students to be submitted for the Sondheim competition, because there's a few rounds to that before the final live show competition is on. So you basically have to audition for your school. That was crazy and intense. As I was saying earlier about The Miller's Son from A Little Night Music, that was one of my song choices, and that was the choice that KMC ended up choosing as the one that I would take forward into the competition. So that's really exciting. Again, another very, very exciting opportunity. So many opportunities, so many, it's crazy. And I'm getting there. Third term is SIPS, which stands for Sustained Independent Project. And this is basically where you write your own show and you organise everything to do with that show. All you get given is the room that it's on and the time that you would be performing it. And everything else is up to you. It had to be, ooh, was it 40 minutes? It had to be 40 minutes, this show. And it had to be a one-person show with music and acting in it. It could have whatever you want in it, but for hours it couldn't be a straight play. It had to have some music and singing in it. It's kind of like, its idea is to be so that you could take it to Fringe. Like you could travel it around and do a travelling show, and you could, the show would fit into a car and you could go and take it anywhere. That's the kind of premise of the show and what it should be. Because obviously you can have all these ideas for a show, but for a one-person show that has no budget, it's not like it's a produced show for, you know, a big West End theatre. It's not that, is my point. I think that's clear now, Abby. Move on. So, yes, that's a crazy time, a very scary time, and honestly for me it wasn't the most enjoyable thing, because I like being given material and then I like being creative with that material itself. I'm not really writing, and writing my own stuff is not really where I feel I excel. Maybe I haven't given it enough of a go yet, but like for me that's not like where I find joy, is not in writing new work. So for me it was, I mean, I'm happy with what the end product became. I basically did a one-woman show where it was called In Case You Missed It, and it was basically I was telling the story of my life in musical theatre up until this point. So it's kind of, well, it was entirely autobiographical, basically. And it was basically like a letter to my dad, who passed away when I was little, which is why it's called In Case You Missed It, because like this has been such a huge life evolution for me, and I've gone through so many twists and turns with musical theatre, and it's been such a huge part of my life. And yeah, it was just a way, it was a vessel for me to share that with him in case he missed it, which he did miss it because he's not here on this earth, but I know he's watching, I know he's watching. So that's basically what mine was, and it was kind of like a Fleabag with songs. Yeah, but I can't lie, I was absolutely over the moon when that was done. So yeah, you'll love it if that's your kind of thing. Some people, like some of my friends, created some amazing work. Janine, shout out to you, your show was incredible. But yeah, if you like that kind of thing, you'll love it. If you don't, I believe in you, you can do it. This is where the term, the year, the course is winding down. And as I've said, you're being exposed to the industry. Like, you're not fully out there, but you're so close to being out there fully on your own. So at this point you're in touch with agents, you're on Spotlight, you're submitting yourself on Spotlight for things if you don't have an agent yet. If you have an agent, you're being submitted for things, you're going out there for auditions, and it's getting really, really industry official, which is terrifying, but it's also very, very exciting. It's a very tense time of the year, because for some people, I didn't find it to be that tense, because I found it tense, but not as intense as I think some other people maybe were, because it's just, it massively depends on your outlook and your mindset during that time. You just have to like keep pushing on, be positive, believe in yourself and keep going, is what my advice would be at this point in time in drama school. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but that's my advice for that point in time in drama school, yeah. And then we finished early June, end of May on this course. And honestly, it kind of feels, it's kind of anticlimactic, because although you are doing a show, it's like you are performing it in a studio, you're not in a theatre. You know, it's not got huge production value, you're not performing with your friends. Like Monica did my lighting and sound, so she was like the only person that was involved in my show really. So yeah, it's a bit anticlimactic, because you're not like doing this huge show with all your friends, having such a good time together, celebrating the last time I was candidates basically, but that was weeks ago. So yeah, it's a little bit of a weird way to end the year, I'm not gonna lie. So GSA, if you are rewriting the end of term, I'd maybe give a little bit of a look at that. Oh my goodness, I've just realised I have completely forgotten Showcase. Very, very briefly, after we finished candidates, we also filmed our Showcase, which is basically, for us, we did one individual song, one duet and one group number. We rehearsed these for maybe 2 weeks. It didn't feel very long at all. And yes, the time for this was very, very constrained, as there was so many numbers, there was so many people, because we were doing it with the third year BAs as well. So it was a lot. But yes, that was done after candidates, and that is basically where you do kind of like a costumed lighting set mini production of your number. We filmed it in the Ivy Theatre, and we get like a proper professional cameraman to come and film it, and it's like the musical direction was Peter Roberts, our director was Phillida Crowley-Smith, and so it's like a whole little tiny little productions of these numbers that we film, and then they get edited and it's put together in a long film of like our cohort and sent out to agents, this, that and the other, but we get given our individual videos, basically to get you an agent and to help your Spotlight profile. And like if anybody's viewing your Spotlight profile, if you've submitted for jobs and this, that and the other, that's what that's contributing to as well. So that is the year in its complete form. I said I wasn't going to take that long, but honestly, it's a lot to discuss and I didn't want to leave any stone unturned. So I hope you've enjoyed the detail anyway. Obviously, it's clear that this year hikes up in intensity in terms of industry exposure, because it kind of has to. It's quite nice to be still at GSA or in drama school whilst being exposed step by step by step by step to the industry, because if your first exposure to the industry is once you're out there on your own, swimming in the big pond, I mean, it's scary as it is right now, never mind if my first ever audition was now. That would be terrifying. Oh no, my battery's gonna die. I'll be back. Apologies if the screen or something has shifted slightly. I just had to charge it, even though I'm so close to finishing what I wanted to say. I had to charge it for just like 10 minutes, which is a little bit annoying, but anyway, let's carry on. I think I was just saying that obviously this year hikes up massively in terms of industry exposure, but that's what you need. That's what you're going to be doing when you leave. So it's nice to have that whilst still being in the bubble of drama school. With that being said, we have had some amazing audition opportunities throughout the year. We have had Starlight Express, Six, Dear Evan Hansen, Becoming Nancy. They have all been kind of like, not open call, but like we were invited to submit self-tapes for those productions. My dear best friend Tom Pygram, they are actually Electra in the West End. It's not technically the West End, but in Wembley in Starlight Express right now, and they got cast in that from the self-tape from GSA. Isn't that wild? And that's what I mean when I'm talking about crazy things that went on during our candidates production. Tom obviously got cast in Starlight and they had to leave to go to skate school a week before we were putting candidates on to the public, and Tom was one of the main parts. So that was crazy and fun, but amazing, totally amazing that they got that opportunity through GSA. Amazing. We also had some panto auditions, and obviously, as I said, through some casting directors' visits to GSA, we got exposure to certain show audition rooms. Obviously, just because you sang for them doesn't mean that you were invited, but I know that some people who did sing in front of them and sang something that would suit the shows that they were casting for, they did get auditions and invited to audition for those shows in real life. So yes, crazy, amazing. So that is that. That is my time at GSA. Fini. It's crazy. Honestly, it feels like it was yesterday that I moved to Guildford, but at the same time, it feels like it was ages ago. It's gone slow and quick at the same time. It feels quick more than anything, but it still also feels slow. I can't describe it, but I am so glad I chose GSA. I wouldn't change it for the world. I've met some of my bestest friends at GSA, got some amazing training, amazing exposure, and I'm just over the moon with it. Obviously nothing's perfect, but I feel like I got everything that I possibly could out of that course, and it provided me with as much as it could as well. And yeah, it's just would 100%, if anybody is considering auditioning for GSA or going to GSA, if you've received an offer and you're like, oh, I don't know where to go, like, I would absolutely recommend GSA. Hands down. Love it. Love the teachers there. I love the environment there. Yeah. A positive review of GSA one may say. And now I'm just very, very excited to embark on my career in the big wide world. So if you have been along with me on this journey, if you've got this far, claps to you, props to you. I thank you dearly. You are an absolute trooper. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.